So I've just brought the neckline. We've got our fronts done here. You can give those a press on the iron if you want to, but I'm just bringing this here because we've got a little bit of a stretch happening here when I did the stitching to stitch the layers together. So I'm literally just I'm going to sew the collar on now. So I just want that to be nice and flat. So we're going to start working on our collar now before we attach it to the garment. You can see this is the piece that's been interfaced, and you can see the color difference here. So it's much whiter with the interfacing on it. That interfacing is on the wrong side. And what we're going to do to help us sew things together is we're just going to use that ironing template. And we're going to fold this up. And we're going to press this in place as we go along.
So this is just the neck edge seam.
Oh yes, you can see the notches here. So yes, this is the neck edge that we're pressing up.
And this is the outer?
The outer one, yeah.
It has the fusing on it.
Just try and make sure that it's nice and even. That tiny bit further up. Just be really careful with the iron.
Don't burn yourself.
That you don't burn yourself. Yes. So this is the other one. So this, when they're sewn together, this will be the inside of the collar. This is the outside of the collar. Okay, so we've got that pressed up. Now we can go to the machine. All right, because we've got a square here at the front of our collar stand, it means that we can get a really nice sharp corner here, and you can do that in 2 steps. So rather than starting here, sewing up and turning the corner and going this way, we can actually just sew along the top first. And this is all of these seam allowances on the neckline and the collar are 6 millimeters. So that means you can actually use that first line there. It says 1/4, so it's 1/4 of an inch, which is 6 millimeters. So you just keep an eye on that. And so just grab the other end.
Yeah, so keep in control so that we don't get to the end and find we've got a big difference.
So yes, I've matched up the end here, matched up the center, and then I'm going to work with the center, making sure that these raw edges are together as we sew along. So try and break things down into smaller lengths of work.
Make sure that your edges of your seam allowances are even, of course. Otherwise you just throw other things out.
So I'll just run off to the edge there. Now I'm going to sew down both ends. And this is good because you're not having to, lift the foot up and turn the corner, keep the needle down and then turn the corner. It means that you should end up with a much neater corner here. Okay. So now we're just going to get a nice fold. Sometimes, if you fold this back and try and press it, sometimes you can end up with a pleat in there because you don't get the seam allowance all the way out. So one way to help in regard to that is just to take this to the iron, and we're going to press that seam open. Actually, before we do that though, we're going to pull this corner through, or bag this corner out. So we're going to fold on the stitch line and fold on the stitch line. Pretty much everybody in sewing says, now clip that corner off to reduce the bulk. But usually what that clipping the corner off just usually means that you end up with a very round, either a hole or a round corner.
Yeah. so
Let's
folding it
see.
in, then pushing it out with your thumbnail.
And then the seam allowance, like
Mm.
bulks out the corner, and you get a really nice sharp corner. So fold to the back,
Yeah, a lot of fabrics will handle this very well.
fold to the back,
It'd only be a
especially
really,
shirting fabrics.
yeah, really bulky wool or something might be a bit harder to do this, but
And then put your fingers in between, but holding the seam allowance down,
and push it out.
and then pushing that out.
It's worked really well. Now, if you're going to use a pin like markers, you need to be very careful because if you
Yes.
pull it too hard, you'll end up with a hole.
Or you'll end up like with some of the threads coming
Yeah.
out,
Yeah,
and
so
then you
be
cut them off, and then
very
you'll end up with a
careful.
hole.
You're more just easing it, not pushing it.
Right, so we've got our collar here. We've sewn along the top edge. We've bagged out our corners, and now, because we want this top edge to be a fold, I'm just going to press that seam allowance open. Make sure in the process that you don't unpress that bottom curve there, and you'll only be able to go in so far, but you can get a fair way in. And the thing with that is, because this seam allowance is now pressed open, when you fold it, it'll fold really nicely along that seam there. Okay, so now we prepared the collar for sewing onto the neckline.